Hi everybody, it's AlsoAshley. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Alright, stop. Hi everyone, it's Future Ashley. I decided to pull this piece from my last Tumblr video because I had such an incredible reaction to it. And I felt like it needed its own space away from some of the goofiness of Tumblr. So that's all this is. If you've seen this Tumblr video, you know what this is. If you haven't, thanks for being here, and hopefully this reaches you. Dear Ash, I hope you're doing all right. I had to make up my mind about what to do with you, whether I should still follow your content or not, because I do love your costumes and fashion posts, but lately you're leaning into that e-girl stuff, and I feel like an intruder seeing that. I never wanted to see that, and I realize now why I don't like it. It feels performative, as if you transitioned only to pose for gooners. It's great that this career works out for you, but you don't even have a theme. You wear just about anything anywhere. It is just a role. Being trans is a role for you. One you exploit. It frustrates me to watch, sense, and tell me if I'm wrong. Trans corn hurts trans people in public. When the first and mostly only source where men can see trans women is corn, then that can lead to unrealistic expectations to people in public. Anyway, I wish you the best. Stay safe. Okay, here we go. I'll read this and then I'll go into more detail. Appreciate you sharing your feelings, but my transition isn't a public good. It's my life. Being trans isn't a costume I put on. It's the person I am, whether I'm in sweatpants or in lingerie. If following me brings you joy, I'm glad to have you. If it doesn't anymore, you're free to leave and there's no hard feelings. But my existence isn't harming trans people. What does harm us is demanding we limit ourselves so strangers remain comfortable. Stay well. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with me. And that's true. Thank you for sharing your perspectives. I'm open to critique and hearing thoughts. It allows me to have the conversation. That's, my whole thing, talking it out. So let's talk it out a little bit more. So first up, and I've kind of touched base on this in many of my other videos, I didn't transition as a way to represent like every other trans person on Earth. I transitioned to live my own life and, a happier life. I've mentioned that when you're kind of put in a position in which you're kind of being seen as an example, sometimes that isn't your choice and you're kind of forced into that position. Look at Finster. Look at my video about Sadie. I do feel I'm in a unique position where I'm kind of given a platform to speak from, and instead of shying away from that, I happily talk it out. And I'm willing to do that. I, as I've mentioned before, feel like if you have that opportunity, go for it. It's helpful. I get joy out of hopefully bringing joy to others just by talking it out, talking about trans existence in general. I also completely understand the history of trans women being sexualized. Trust me, I also get the nervousness around that or the uncomfortableness that might come from witnessing or seeing that occur. A lot of guys' first exposure is fetish content. It's also a lot of the first exposure for trans women to experience other trans women or even like come to terms with that. It's just the way our society is built at the moment. Part of the reason behind that is because in the current climate we're in, one of the few places where being trans isn't seen as disgusting or icky or uncomfortable or not true is in a sexual nature, is in that world. So it makes sense that trans women stumbling across a space where you're actually supported and admired and people talk about you existing as if it's a good, beautiful, gorgeous thing, even if there's aspects of sexualization in that. It makes sense that a lot of trans women lean into those spaces or exist in those spaces safely. The answer to the stereotype of like trans people existing in sexualized spaces isn't trans people should be desexualized. I think it's that trans people get to be anything. Messy, sexy, nerdy, boring, academic, tall, short, older, younger, chaotic, just all of it. They can be all of that if they want. Like so many folks talk about how like, they want to see trans women as normal, like be normal or I don't have a problem as long as you're like, whatever. But then like when a trans woman does anything a cis woman would do, like lingerie shoots or fashion or thirst traps, suddenly it's a crisis, I guess. I don't think the harm is me wearing a cute outfit on Instagram or even pushing my other websites. Go support me. I think more of the harm is coming from telling trans women that their identity is conditional on behaving in a certain way or only sticking to certain types of existence. My transition isn't a performance or a costume, and it's not a role. It is my life. Whether I'm in sweatpants and a hoodie watching anime, or I'm posing in sexy cosplay and asking people to go experience that. There are trans women who model lingerie. There's trans women that code computers. Trans women who are moms and accountants and secretaries and construction workers. And none of those trans women lose validity when they're being sexy. You gain spectrum. And in all honesty, the only reason I can be here even making these YouTube videos is because of the fact that I've been making this sexualized content for 15 years on top of this. The only reason I have the time to exist and inspire and use my platform here is because of that other work. And the honest truth is, I wasn't pressured into that. I like doing it, you know? It's fun. And if my content stopped resonating with somebody, that's totally okay. Nobody's required to stay, but we don't uplift trans people by shrinking ourselves to fit to some stranger's comfort. Be big, be loud, be sexy, be whatever version of yourself feels good for yourself. That's how we change the world. So, I really hope that didn't come across as like bitter or angry or rage-filled or anything, because the honest truth is, I'm glad you said that. It allowed me to touch on certain subjects I like talking about. So let me know what you think, you know? And just be you. But until I see you again on the next video, be hot, resist fascism. Bye. Another aspect of that, maybe this question spurred about from the fact that one of my last videos referenced me being like a trans e-girl. The hope is you get context from the video. I hope a lot of you understand that a lot of YouTube titles, a lot of my captions are for the algorithm themselves. It's kind of fun to craft things and get people to come watch, etc., etc. But like for every YouTube video I make, I do 3 titles and test them all out. So for my trans e-girl title, I had 3 other ones. The one that stuck was this, which is more telling, I think, of the internet in general and less about my own perspective on my own existence, I suppose. I'll play the game. There's no point in existing on YouTube and being like, I refuse to make the thumbnails that'll push me out to people. I refuse to title a thing that'll allow people to see my content. It's very counterintuitive, I suppose. So if there's aspects of that come across in that way, hopefully you get more context from consuming my content. But again, that's not your thing anymore. That's okay. It's okay. I'll be okay.